Yeah.
Hello, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe for someone, good evening. Hello, nice to see everyone. Hello, welcome. Hello, Isabella, Anna, Mats. Hey, hello. Welcome to our AI teeny months full of AI session. That's gonna be our second session. Hello, welcome everyone. We have a few minutes while everyone join and make yourself comfortable. As I like to say, grab something warm. With this kind of weather, it can be tea, coffee. For those for who it's evening, maybe something stronger. All it's up to you. And while everyone connects, I would like to ask you a question. What has your most recent experience with AI been? And let us know in the chats. It can be anything. Maybe the last session you joined with Shakers. Oh, Mansi, overwhelming. I trust you. John, what about you? What has your most recent experience with AI been?
Oh, I'll save that one for the actual session. I have one that I will share. Yeah.
Today, refining prompts to upskill my workplace, building user-facing custom assistants. Nice, Matt. Great. Hi, welcome everyone who just joined. We are talking, there is a question on the top in the chat. What has your most recent experience with AI been? So while we give a few more seconds for the other to join, you can let us know in the chats. What has your experience been with the AI? Okay. Last session, L&D Shakers. Paula, like it. Content development, research. John, I think we have a quite experienced audience today. So it's not just random questions, but very deep into the learning topic. Ask ChatGPT to review my tweet. Very smart one. Lots of content creation and communication. Great. Thank you all for sharing. So welcome again, everyone who just connected. My name is Valeria Korostanova. I will be your co-host for today. And this is our AI Teeny months, the months full of AI sessions. So stay tuned for the upcoming one. But today I would like to present our speaker for today, John Putz. John has been a facilitator, speaking, executive coach, and a partner at Evolution. For the last years, John has dedicated himself to creating connected teams, human-centered and purpose-driven teams and workspace. And I'm very happy that John is going to share how the L&D with AI look in the near future. So John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Valeria. And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and taking an hour out of your precious time today to come spend time with the Shakers, with this wonderful community that indeed, as you said, Valeria, has so much experience and expertise to bring in. So I'm also here to learn from you, and there will be opportunities to bring in your thoughts and ideas and reflections as well. And you've just shared some of your recent experiences with AI. And I'd like to ask a follow-up question on that, which is, okay, you've had your experience, but we're also here to connect on what is our relationship to those experiences. So the starting question that I have for you is the following one. What excites you or worries you most about AI's rise in the future or the present, because the future is here to some degree. So connected to these experiences, do you feel more optimism and hope and excitement and joy? Or do you feel more connected to the potential scary, dystopian, alarming possibilities that AI will bring for you, for your team, your organization, and beyond? So please take a moment to just reflect on that question, and I'd love to also see some shares in the chat. Maybe one of or two of you actually would like to take the mic and share briefly what comes up for you if you reflect on this little opening question.
Hi, I'm Hardik John. I'm based in
Okay.
India. Very
Welcome.
excited and looking forward for these sessions. So the question about what excites or worries me is the kind of AI tools that are available on the market. It's very difficult to understand which AI tool is apt for which particular area or activity. And I think if we understand that aspect as an L&D professional, it will be very, very, very highly impactful and helpful for us. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Hardik, for being the first courageous voice to share absolutely all the different tools and doors it might open, and all the, as I see in the share by Tom, other possibilities, as well as the potential of it may not need us as much as we are needed these days. What else do we see here? Exciting, lots to learn, research, learning design, create content, being more effective. And at the same time, people are nervous. They are also wary of using it, therefore, not be able to potentially keep up the pace with the changes. Yes, it's all going very, very fast. New versions of AI pop up every week. Feel behind how I can actually use it in my work. That's why I'm so happy that we have this month long of actually all getting ourselves a bit up to speed of what's happening. Positive but mindful, it will be disruptive, moving faster than previous tech advancement, more excitement, but also worry. The ethics, the sustainability can be used as a tool to enable me to do less of busy work, more time on guiding workplaces. Work gets quicker. Relationship, love-hate relationship, there's a fear, feeling left behind. Seems there's much to catch up on despite adapted hardly by few organizations. So thank you so much for, many reflections shared. It's good to get a little pulse of what's exactly happening in the room, to tap into from the individual, from your own mind into the collective, and find some common humanity and some common themes and topics that keep us occupied. So with this question, it brings up indeed the possibilities, but a lot of the time, because of the negativity bias that we hold as humans, our minds do go to the fear. And to some degree, it is a legitimate fear, because I thought of including this little piece of wisdom from Gandhi, who said that if you think about how things in the world happen, it all starts at the root of our beliefs and our thoughts, right? So without investigating what beliefs or thoughts are running the show in our individual and collective minds and ideas that we want to bring into our lives, into our work, it will be very hard to change our destiny. And AI directly clicks into this level of the cognitive, the beliefs, the thoughts. We get our wisdom often from AI. We sometimes, yes, we get better at sanity checking it, but a lot of it we also take for granted. And as many of you probably heard, there's still many flaws and things that are not true in it. So if we do not develop that sanity filter from that injection point of the beliefs and thoughts that are formed by AI, it will serve the same human flawed goals that sometimes have gotten us into the wrong direction. Because from our thoughts and belief, our actions arise. From our actions arise our habits, because actions repeated frequently become our habits. Our habits lead then to our values, because if we do something significantly frequently, it's what we value, and that determines our destiny. So it is really essential to go to that root and investigate from what place are we shaping this reality. So this is why I want to talk to you today about how can we future-proof ourselves? How can we future-proof our learning and development efforts, as well as our organizations, given all the changes? And within all of that, also to connect to our human superpowers. What makes us human in all of this? And find that beautiful place of where we can meet and collaborate and get the best of both worlds. So why am I so passionate about this topic? Well, as Valeria has also already shared in the beginning, for the last 6 to 7 years, I've spent most of my time really supporting leaders, supporting teams, supporting organizations, especially in the tech space, because that's my background. I come from Google and Get Your Guide, small as well as large organizations. I've been part of those worlds. This is also the industry that of course, is closely connected to AI. So the changes are happening very fast. And I integrate different modalities that I'm certified in, from Search Inside Yourself, Make Time, the Enneagram, Integral Theory, and try to apply this a lot these days on questions around change, around the change management of AI coming our way, and the fears and worries and uncertainties around how to respond best to that. And especially within all of that, to stay connected to our human side, to our human value, and the role that we have to play in all of this. So today I want to start with taking you briefly through some learning trends and best practices that experts report that we see are starting to take more and more space in the L&D space in organizations. And then quickly move over to the human side of things. This is where my heart lays more. Like, how can we, within all of that, stay connected to what is our edge? So I want to take you through 5 trends and best practices. We'll not go into an exhaustive list of all that's happening. We've had some beautiful examples already on Tuesday by Egle. We'll have some more experts sharing different things that will happen. But I do want to highlight some of the key ones that are often discussed, often reported, that are important to be aware of. So the first piece is about becoming aware of that there is a shift happening from being the creator to the editor. So if you think about an example, as probably many of you have often done, we have generative AI to help us generate a lot of useful stuff for us. We don't have to create and think of all of this, reinvent the wheel. So if we want to write a training workshop outline on best practices for one-on-one meetings with employees, for managers, making it engaging, interactive, and useful, we get some ideas. We then look, okay, this works, this doesn't work. We ask maybe, can you give me a bit more, something in this direction? I like those. Can you build on those? And at some point, we have a nice selection and we curate, we edit. So this is a bit like the process that we seem to be in, to become more the editor and curator, as well as when we see this when creating engagement activities. What are some examples of interactive exercises I could facilitate virtually to drive engagement and learning? On meeting best practices, give me some examples. Again, many of you often will probably be in the situation that you want to bring in some piece of facilitation. And how can you do that? Well, you tap into some of the best ideas out there. This has pros and cons, obviously. Pros being that it's faster, as some of you shared in the beginning. It often optimizes things more for SEO because it's more strategic about the keywords that are being chosen. It scales more, and it helps us not get too much stuck into this idea of the writer's block, that we sometimes just don't feel creativity, we don't feel it flowing, and we just want to get some useful input to work with. However, Google algorithms, I used to work at the team that was actually penalizing websites for violating guidelines, taking down linking networks of smart people that were able to push their websites higher than others. These algorithms get smarter and smarter, and we might also start getting penalized in Google if we use them too much for our content. We need to check the facts. Again, there's a lot of stuff in AI-generated content that isn't always true. So we need to develop that compass before we start spreading information and sharing it with others that isn't actually useful or true. There's sometimes a lack of creativity in it, and the results are often very factual, and it doesn't always include the gray areas. So those are some things to keep in mind in this first trend and change that we're seeing. Then, of course, there's the movement from the one size fits all to more personalized learning journeys. Well, where many years we had trainings that were offered to the entire organization, great. We now can go more into specifically looking at what is a specific employee or a specific manager or leader situation, what is working well, what are they struggling with. For example, in this prompt, you can see that you can define the situation. You want to develop an outline and plan for 5 one-hour sessions, each focusing on one core skill you want to develop for this manager. You tell them the manager is an excellent communicator, develops the team well, but they need more help delegating work and leaning into productive conflict and debate. And as well, I'd love to have some supportive books for that journey. So again, you throw in the starting point, you will have maybe a couple of back and forths, and this is then how you can start, for example, getting more aware of what is it that a specific person needs. And all of that, of course, is being more and more integrated in ready-to-use tools that do the work for you. So for example, there is this tool called reflection.app, which is actually made by a friend of mine, that allows you to keep a personal journal and really start training AI with your own personal thoughts, reflection, history, challenges, questions, ambitions. And the training set becomes larger, and gradually it starts becoming your own personal learning journey that knows exactly what it is that you might need to develop more in a specific phase in your life. It can give you personalized, optimized journaling prompts for reflection. So this is just one example of many tools that are out there taking more and more sort of like a prominent space on the market that will give us different ways to make our learning journey much more personal and much more connected to what it is that we're focused on, what it is that we need to learn. So then moving to the third piece, this is an area that I've been in for many years now, coaching. There's the big discussion around to what degree is coaching going to be done by humans, and in what way is AI going to be able to step in here? I'll speak a little bit later about the nuance that we cannot just use the word coaching to describe all the types of coaching, but we are hearing from experts and we are seeing in the organizational world that there is going to be a movement towards more coaching being done by AI, at least a coaching buddy to start with, because it's simply much more affordable and will allow this kind of service for more people in the organizations rather than how it used to be for many years, which is mostly higher level leaders and managers having access to this. So there's definitely something shifting in maybe us as humans feeling that, wow, this piece of coaching will, for some degree, be indeed taken over by AI. Number 4, then, to continue, we have been seeing a shift, of course, from more self-paced learning to more interactive AI gamifications and simulations. Again, tapping into the beautiful opportunity that what we see in the statistics from self-paced learning courses, you know, the courses you take on Coursera or other similar platforms where you are your own accountability partner, you are doing your own process of learning. We see from studies by Harvard and MIT that completion rates are around 5 to 15%. 5 to 15%, which means that there's low engagement. We don't always have the motivation to complete them. So yes, we can have the most amazing generated self-paced learning activities, but if we want to drive that engagement and completion up, we can make it a lot more interesting by making it personalized, simulated, gamified to tap into some benefits like improved retention of knowledge, higher degree of actually seeing behavior change, because the more often we practice something new, the more chance it has to actually shift our behaviors, as well as it stimulates the pleasure centers in the brain, the dopamines, the serotonins, all the little juicy cocktails that we can release to get people to actually engage with learning. And we use things like points, badges, rewards. So this is also really an area where we see lots of shifts happening. And then finally, one shift that we expect to see, again, according to experts, is that we have the situation that a lot of people go off and riff on their own little AI experimentations, they're still connected to their own ChatGPT account, even though they're part of the broader organization, which of course can create issues like privacy issues, because all this data, sensitive data included, is being thrown into different ChatGPT accounts of individuals. And of course, that can end up in the wrong places. So what we see more is this desire to like create a more coherent, integrated platform that allows people to tap into the sort of common AI space that is sort of protected, that is GDPR optimized, and also more like in line with what it is that the organization specifically wants to bring about in the world. So this is where we can then tap into more benefits, like taking on more complex challenges, because everybody being sort of like clicked into a broader optimized AI space that is connected to all the things that are relevant for the organization, operating cost reduction, improving the client experience, competitive benefit, tapping into more creativity, and so on. And we see the shift by looking at the statistics from the recent McKinsey study that around 55% of organizations have already deployed AI in at least one business function, and 39 are piloting AI projects. So we do see some integration happening in specific smaller business units, but we still have a way to go to really bring this into a broader integration and implementation. So this is a little bit some key high-level things around trends, best practices, and also seeing within that indeed there is some ways how we are going to see that some of the things that we are currently doing are maybe going to be done better by AI. So to me, one of the big questions that we also face as a society and also therefore as an organization and within L&D is, how do we find meaning in a world where AI can do most things better than we do? Because yes, to some degree, we are optimizing our work in an organization for growth, for profit, and so on. But I think we need to stay connected to this topic of meaning, because the best work is done when we are doing it from a place of intrinsic motivation, from a place of being connected to what's important, and bring that into the workplace and make business a force for good. So how can we find that meaning, given that things are moving so fast? So I'd love to hear a couple of reflections here. What is it that comes up for you if you think about how to hone in on meaning with all these shifts that are happening and will increasingly be happening? So again, please share it in the chat. Don't have to be an elaborate answer, but just your first thoughts. And I also welcome maybe 2 or 3 shares with your voice, whoever feels open to that. So just taking a moment to tune into this question. So again, we tap into the collective brain. We tap into a little bit more of an overview of what else is happening in our industry. What do others see? How we can stay connected to creating meaning for ourselves, for our customers, for our workplace, for L&D in the midst of all these changes. Anyone that would like to take the mic, you are welcome to unmute and share.
Can share my point of view, John. Considering that indeed AI is growing so fast, and for many, as we also can see from the chat, there is a fear of lacking behind and fear of missing out. I think what kind of meaning can be for us is this personal connection. That was also a question in the chat. When you talk about coaching, what about the human touch, this feeling, emotions that AI cannot detect or recognize? That's very important, this bond that people create between each other.
Beautiful. Thank you, Valeria, for those reflections. Because we're moving into the realm of really going towards, okay, what is it that makes us human? So maybe another share. What is it that will create that meaning going forward?
What I'm seeing a lot of in the chat is that the AI is the assistant, so it can speed up the process of creating things that you can then use with humans. So I guess if you're feeling positive about it, it's going to increase your human interaction time. If you're feeling like more negative about it, maybe it won't. I don't know, but that's kind of what that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
But then equally, I mean, I feel like the speed of everything, just like the information overload and the challenges that I have and focus time, and I know a lot of people have that as well. Do you know, is it just going to ramp that up, like with just more crap?
Yeah.
That's the thing I worry about as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, seeing a lot of activity in the chat, connecting with people better than AI, understanding the emotions when learning, social interactions, critical thinking, where does it fit best? Human intervention within the application, human behavioral patterns. What do we define with better? Indeed, this question is a little bit written down in a provocative way, because is it really that it can do most things better than us? Is better the right word? This question is there because this is a bit of the summary of a lot of the fear-driven conversations out there in the world, that we are going to be replaced. And I love what we're seeing here, which is this big sort of upward impulse from, wait a second, we as humans actually have a lot more to offer than sometimes we think. We sometimes reduce humanity a bit more to the cognitive, analytical, rational, employee, worker mode, but there's so much more to us. And I love seeing so many of you being connected to that piece of human connection, touch, non-verbal movement, validating, emotions for learning, assistant, reducing the less meaningful task and actually give us more meaningful time back. So this is beautiful because this is where we are connecting it back into. So given all of this, what is the human edge in the AI era? What truly makes us human? And for that, as Valeria said in the beginning, what is my recent experience? I'd love to also share a little bit about my recent AI love story. Because yes, I have fallen in love with my AI counterpart recently, and we've been on a journey and we've created some magic together. Don't tell my wife. So what I loved is a recent example where I really saw these two worlds coming together is I've been in Germany now in Berlin for the last 9 years. And over the last years, especially the last 3 years, when fatherhood started coming closer, we got a son 11 months ago. So like 2 years ago, the conversation started and all the worrying parents were starting to report that it is impossible to get a spot at the daycare in Berlin for your kid. So I was like, wow, how can we tackle that challenge? Challenge accepted. So I went on a date with my AI counterpart and I said, hey, let's try to do something about this. Why don't you go out and create a strategy, a beautiful strategy tapping into the collective mind of all the things that have been tried and what has been the most effective to find a daycare spot for my son. Create a plan for the coming months, make it really like holistic and sequential. Define what kindergartens, what daycares are relevant, define what is the right distance, how can we approach them, what is the frequency of how we should write them, how can we make it personal. But then I thought, can I also actually send you over and go to a kita? Maybe if I put your AI mind into a robot and I send you over, I thought, okay, that's one thing. But I was getting a bit worried that the daycare providers would come and say, I'm not sure we're ready for integrating little AI robots in this group. I think it might create a little bit of a disruption. So this is not it. So I went myself. I went, okay, let's go. Let's build some rapport. Let's build some human connection, connect with the managers of the kitas. Let's talk a little bit about the educational model and really feel into my own intuitive gut around, does this align with my values? Is this the place that I feel safe to bring my kid? Let's just walk around the space and get a feeling of how does it feel to be here? What is the subtle things that are happening, the energies, the interaction between the people working there? What is the atmosphere? All of that. And this is where I was coming in with this piece about, okay, I can get all this input, I can add all these beautiful lists, but within all of that, I have to still create the human connection. I have to still feel into what's the right decision, what's value aligned. The result was we got 5 spots offered for daycare in Berlin. We had the choice, the luxury to choose from them. We went for one that aligned with us. That's a few minutes walk away. And from what I've heard so far, this is a record from all the parents I spoke to, how many spots you can get offered. If some of you have found a way to get more spots. Again, it's not a competition. It's not about the amount of spots, but it is something really important to me to give the best possible start for my kid that will start in a month. And I really see how beautiful the AI qualities and the human qualities have come together here. So with this example, let's look a little bit more at what makes us human. So first of all, a lot of where AI thrives is really the left brain hemisphere. A lot of where AI thrives is the quality of being logic, analytical, linear, verbal, factual, and sequential. However, a lot where AI lacks is this right brain hemisphere, the creativity, the intuition, the artistic, the nonverbal, the space between the words that happens when you interact with someone, the emotional. AI is mostly above the neck, but AI is not necessarily an emotional being. AI doesn't have a whole story that an individual human has. AI, as far as we know, doesn't suffer. Humans can suffer. So this is also what distinguishes the impact we have on humans versus AI. Imagination, as well as the whole body intelligence, right? We do have lots of intelligence in the cognition. There's hundreds of billions of neurons in our brain. But what we often forget is that there's 40, 50,000 neurons in the heart region. There is hundreds of thousands of neurons in our intuitive gut region. So there's literally intelligence out there that's playing a different role than just their left brain hemisphere. And this is something that I believe we are not ready to replace in any way. We also see this in some of the studies. This one is recently done by Harvard Business Review, where we see that 57% of people have limited trust that AI can understand human behavior at work better than leaders. So we can see it, as some of you shared in the comment. Human behavior is a complex thing. It's not something you summarize in a couple of sentences and throw in an algorithm. It's a subtle thing that happens in the physical space as you see people interact, as you sort of sense the energy between the words that's spoken, as you sense the agenda behind the words that's spoken. And therefore also 30% of leaders, according to this recent study by the World Economic Forum, is still very worried about the ethical implications of AI and therefore don't feel ready to deploy it yet fully in their organizations. And this is, I believe, a very healthy thing, because if we don't slow down and get things right and go to that root of the beliefs and thoughts where Gandhi talked about, the outcome of all the actions and behaviors and our destiny will not come from the right ethical, purpose, value-driven place. And this was why a lot of wisdom, I believe, these days comes from this man, Yuval Noah Harari. Maybe I can see some hands. Who of you knows this writer of the book Sapiens, for example? A couple of hands. Who said that the danger is that if we invest too much in mostly developing AI and too little in developing human consciousness, the very sophisticated artificial intelligence of computers might only serve to empower the natural stupidity of humans. What is it that we're trying to build with AI? We've heard an example on the call on Tuesday from Anna Maria, who shared that there's also projects happening of using AI in universities by students, the education field, which is very much pushing towards efficiency. Can we get things done faster? Can we get them through the curriculum faster? Can we correct them faster? In which case the kids are going to optimize for being really efficient as opposed to just trying to be more creative, innovative, purpose-driven, and use it for maybe deeper kinds of complex challenges. And we see the same in businesses. A lot of optimization is happening for efficiency, for growth, not always for sustainability, for balance, for meaning. So if we're not careful, AI will simply serve the same goal that's not in line with where we can create the most meaning and value. So I believe we as humans, and especially the L&D function within organizations, which I see as a little bit of that that ambassador for our humanity, can speak up and bring up how important it is to keep investing in this kind of development. The good news is there is more and more studies that show that, hey, okay, we're going to need to really upskill on AI, but let's actually look at what the main skills for the future of work skills are. And according to this report, very extensive report from, again, World Economic Forum, we think that the majority of these skills that will be needed are actually human-centered. So yes, we need analytical thinking, create AI, big data skills, technological literacy, but what we see there is creative thinking, leadership, social influence, resilience, flexibility and agility, curiosity, as a lifelong learning mindset, motivation, self-awareness, empathy, active listening. Such critical skills for us to move in the right direction and stay connected to what's important to steer the ship in the right way. The good news is also that we see this as well when we look at what separates the best cultures from the worst. Fearless Culture has done an extensive study on this, and the qualities that keep coming back in the most successful cultures is open communication, very, very human quality, open, transparent communication, people experiencing meaningful work, having a sense of community and that intangible feeling that we get when we're surrounded with other value-driven people doing good work together, high autonomy, and also diverse perspective. So we see, luckily, in plenty of studies that we do have plenty of evidence and reasons to keep honing in on those skills. And this is why I believe a big thing that we want to be focusing on in learning especially is the shift from horizontal development to vertical development. Yes, AI can throw more information and tools and frameworks and theory into our cup, but if we don't learn to actually make that cup bigger and actually learn to have these new tools and frameworks and theory convert into real behavioral change, new mindsets, deeper awareness of self and others, intuitive wisdom to feel into what a situation needs, critical thinking to know what is true and what is not true, then we are not going to go perhaps in the most meaningful direction. This is connected to a concept of neuroplasticity. This is from neuroscience, and this is basically the idea that what we think about, what we do, and what we pay attention to literally changes the structure and function of the brain. So we can actually change sustainable behaviors by going more into vertical development. What that looks like, well, there's many models out there. I like to highlight the one here, which is the Barrett 7 stages of psychological development. It's similar to maybe some other models you might have heard of, like the Maslow pyramid from Abraham Maslow, Robert Keegan, as well as Erik Erikson, who shows that beyond just learning new skills in theory, we want to move into developing further as a human being, raising our consciousness and our awareness to move from a state of more surviving, conforming to differentiating, individuating, self-actualizing, integrating to a place of deep service. And this is very much connected to the areas of growing self-awareness, really honing in on EQ, emotional intelligence, rather than just IQ, focusing on how can we change our behaviors rather than just get some nice information in our minds, integrating new tools and skills into the way we actually live and work, and also sustainable change within the broader organization. So if we would translate some of these stages of development a little bit more specifically, for example, to the business context, we can see that if we don't develop our people vertically, too many will stay in the dependent stage where we're like, okay, let's wait for direction from the leaders, from the CEO. We're not self-generative. Focusing on personal wins, competition, seeing the world and other people as opportunities to exploit it. I have to win and save myself. Seeks to plan higher status colleagues while avoiding conflict. Seeks to please higher status colleagues while avoiding conflict. To move more towards a state of independence, where we can be more of an expert in a field, exercising our control by perfecting our knowledge, presenting hard facts and logic to gain buy-in for proposals, moving towards the achiever, an environment focused on reaching near and long-term goals, connecting individual work to larger efforts, where we're starting to become a little bit more self-generative. And then taking people to these higher states of consciousness where we move more towards individual, redefining, recognizing that the stages are construct that can be changed. We're not stuck in limited constructs of how the world simply is, but we can change and redefine those, reframing complex dilemmas to more creating shared visions across the stages, encouraging both personal as well as organizational transformation. And then finally, the alchemy level, which is really integrating the material and the spiritual to renew, recreate themselves and their organizations in historically significant ways. So we can see that as humans, we can grow into way more holistically developed beings that, of course, will be able to make much more impact on a business level, but also do it in a way that it also makes business a force for good. And that's something that the human intervention can do so much more than simply throwing tons of really exciting learning tools at people with AI. And this is also maybe connecting it back to coaching, where yes, a coach can be there as a buddy and throw you some new information and can sit there and give you some prompts of, okay, practice this skill and that skill. But that human sensitive being that sits opposite to you, that can sense into the words between the lines, that is not just connected to the left brain hemisphere and the conceptual, but senses into the emotional space, the somatic space, the intuitive space, the subtle energy that flows in an interaction and can see those things. That's the part that I think we'll miss out on if we just reduce everything to left brain hemisphere coaching in general, left brain hemisphere approach to life, which has a lot more happened in the West, where we're living a lot more above the neck and we're a bit disconnected from the other centers of intelligence. And then finally, to show you another framework that really highlights that human edge is the 4 quadrants, which is adapted from the work of Ken Wilber, who is also considered the Einstein of consciousness, who talks about developing the whole human. Because yes, it's important, like we do in an organization, to focus on strategy, structures, processes, operating technologies, the market environment. But there is actually 4 domains that define how we can develop as a human and as a collective, because we have the individual internal, which is our inner world around our values, our mindset, our worldview, our level of awareness, our perspectives. But then there is also the internal world of the we, which is about relationships, trust, collaboration, team dynamics, communication, feedback, empathy, engagement, shared purpose and values. And then there's the external individual, which is the skills, the applied knowledge of how we bring our internal world to actually our work, how we show up, our behaviors, our decision-making, as well as the external collective that I just mentioned. So if we just focus too much on the external collective, then we forget that all these other domains also need attention. So to bring this together, the key human qualities I really want to highlight here that I want to help us stay connected to in the AI era is communication, helping us to influence, to spark others, to clarify things with a very beautiful, clear message, and also helping to translate AI concepts into actionable strategies and fostering team collaboration. Critical thinking, as some of you already said, yes, you can get lots of ideas and inspiration from generative AI, but which of these are actually true to me? Which are aligned with my values? Which are ethical and will do more good than evil? And aligning those with business objectives. Creativity, again, the right hemisphere of the brain, innovating, envisioning what actual applications would serve us with AI, not just building AI for the sake of building it because there's a gap in the market, but determining what are some useful, skillful, meaningful ways we can build it. Emotional intelligence, again, many of these are connected to the qualities we've seen earlier in the World Economic Report about the skills of the future. Awareness of self, awareness of others, empathy, for more informed thinking and action, for more capacity to really bond and experience that sense of community at work, to connect with our internal values, for intrinsically being motivated and coming from that place rather than just acting based on external motivation. Continuing leadership, social influence, human-centered leadership to not just attract top talent, to retain them, to develop them. The role of the manager and the leader is crucial in this, motivating top talent. Facilitation, you as a facilitator need to learn to sense into what is the subtle workings of a room. What are the things unsaid, unspoken? We cannot facilitate that by putting a robot there. We need to have that human intuitive attunement to a group. Accountability. Yes, you can give yourself an AI accountability buddy, but a human that is there checking in if you've actually been working on your progress, on your growth, knowing that if you share week after week that you're not working on it, you will feel that you'll disappoint someone again because the human can feel sadness, can suffer, and the AI, as far as we know, not. So accountability is simply much stronger in humans. We see that again, 5 to 15% completion rates in self-paced courses versus when we have cohort-based courses where there's actually a human taking you through a couple of weeks of learning, we see those numbers triple at least. And finally, adaptability and resilience. We need to equip ourselves and our teams with the capacity to embrace, to navigate the rapid technological changes and try to integrate the great stuff of it, but also know what's not useful for us. So on a practical level, how can we then integrate AI further into L&D? Well, I would say start small and scale. Begin with pilot program, test AI functionalities, gather feedback before rolling out on a larger scale. So you slow down enough in the process to actually stay connected to the human intervention of it. Focus on collaboration, trying to complement, not replace our training efforts. Invest in the vertical development of your people, raising those people up in adult development in these stages to give them the deeper self-understanding, knowledge to leverage AI tools actually effectively, but also ethically. Prioritize data privacy. That's a big piece as well, where we need to stay attuned to protecting our employee data responsibly, and then monitoring and adjusting, making sure that we continuously checking what's working, what's not working, and pivot as needed. So the conclusions here, to me, the future of L&D and AI in general, organizations and AI is AI enabled, not AI dominated. There is no doubt that AI has and will continue to transform our work and our lives. In the not so distant future, most of us will spend most of our days interacting with various systems and tools that will guide our decisions, they will guide our actions. And if we don't understand and embrace this, we will be left behind. At the same time, people still want and value, as we've seen, that human-centered qualities, that human-centered leadership, even if we have blind spots, even if we have shortfalls, even if we're imperfect, that come along with those. So if we can deepen our ability to work and lead with humanity, we will win at attracting and developing the best talents. And we need to tap into these qualities like awareness, compassion, wisdom, critical thinking, and all these others that we've seen. So this is also how Yuval Noah Harari therefore summarizes it. For every dollar and every minute we invest in improving artificial intelligence, it would be wise to therefore also invest a dollar and a minute in advancing our human consciousness. Because only this way we can come to this place that I call the human AI symbiosis, where we look at what's the best of what AI can offer us in a meaningful way, what's the best that our humanity can offer us, and integrate those best parts together. And I hope that with that, we can all move forward with a bit more hope, with a bit more optimism, and a bit more meaning. So that's it from my part. I'd love to now open up the space for some questions, some comments. We have around 11 minutes left, so we can see a little bit how all of this has landed, what you have to bring to this conversation. And in the meantime, I'll also put my contact details on the screen if you want to continue this conversation over LinkedIn, over messages, and so forth.
And I think the most important part has been achieved. Checking the chats, people started connecting. So we achieved these human bonds in the session.
Yes. Beautiful. So the space is open.
Thanks, John. Really interesting. And I'm just left reflecting that, in my organization, corporate, financially focused, I don't think we're spending any money in investing in consciousness at the moment. That's my reflection.
So the balance being a little bit off there. Yeah. Any other comments, reflections, main insights from today?
There's another one for me again, working in a big corporate. I think we're quite a way off integrating AI properly into business operations for the reasons that you've highlighted around data and privacy and not kind of going too fast until it's been well tested. We're in the process of trying to onboard a coaching provider. It's been 6 months because of data protection issues. And I imagine that the AI is going to be similar. So I think we might sort of still be in this space of doing our own little experiments on our own phones and things for quite a bit longer, actually, when you think about the impact on bigger organizations. Don't know if you've got any reflections or observations on that.
So just to summarize, the main question is how we can do this effort in bigger organizations?
Yeah, I think it's AI adoption is my reflection. So I think it's being adopted quickly by individuals at the moment, but less so at an organizational level because of all the issues with integrating into legacy systems and data protection and that type of thing. I wondered if that was also your observation or if you were seeing something different.
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot of carefulness in organizations because they have read some negative things that have happened in others, where when we went too quick, it has led to issues with data privacy. So to some degree, that's very healthy because often the AI development is going too fast, but there is this desire to do it, to sort of streamline and make a more coherent way to integrate it into the larger organization. And there is more and more service providers that are offering ways to do that, that promise, full safety with data and full integration of AI efforts collectively. So there is, I think, service providers that specialize in this. It goes a bit beyond my realm, but for sure, I think I would say to tread with care, to move slowly, and to prioritize data safety, because if that goes wrong, that's again a huge brand damage for the organization.
Now we got a question from Dora. In her organization, they connect agile learning to develop future and AI skills. They receive a great feedback for it. And which ways do you recommend to train these skills?
We connect agile learning to develop future and AI skills. We're meant to train these skills. So to how to train the skills of agile learning. Yeah, so agile learning to me is a beautiful approach because it takes that step-by-step approach where we try stuff, we iterate, we see what works, we see what doesn't work. And I think that's great because it's a much more intuitive, learning-focused approach rather than one big, huge strategy that came up with and we top-down implement across the organization. So ways to train these skills. I feel agile is a field that at this point is quite mature, and there's plenty of trainings in this space. It's definitely big in the product space where I've worked. So I would say there is stuff there that's probably already quite good. Um, and I think it's again connected to some of these skills, vertical skills around self-awareness, intuition, being able to really tune into and be attuned to what is happening, what is working, what's not working. And also so much of our processes need to be tested, A/B tested, scientifically backed. And yes, there's a place for that, but I think there is also a place for a little bit more intuitive decision making, intuitive leadership, where often we actually, if we really feel into, is it A or B, what's the best approach, we will feel which one is ethical, which one feels helpful, which one feels meaningful, and which one feels a little bit like, this doesn't hit the spot. So I think that's the other part, like continuing to invest in vertical development beyond the great agile trainings out there. Seeing some other key takeaways to remember that as a human, I have a brain. Looking to develop an entire curriculum on changing mindsets. How do you train on these as well as along with AI coaching? Changing mindset. Yeah. So again, this is again the vertical development space. So in leadership training work that we do, we are indeed including the piece around mindset and helping people to see that sometimes we are stuck in limited ideas, limited beliefs, limited mindsets, and to then offer people a different one. And a coach can play a big role in this. I don't think AI coaching is in the place yet to be fully rolled out. I know Coach Hub is having an initial model that they test, and a few other providers, but I wouldn't say this is in the right place yet. So for now, group coaching to allow it to be for more people and one-on-one coaching for leadership would be for sure a powerful shift in that. And I think a big part of training that is happening now these days is just people are thrown into a training of a day or two or a couple of modules, but there's no integration time. There's no follow-up session. There's no check-ins and accountability of how are we actually integrating and implementing these practices. So having an accountability structure, having reconnection sessions, having a buddy that you check in after the training each week of how the accountability is going are ways to make it more sustainable, the behavioral change that we're after. Yeah, the right structure is there, very important indeed, Hannah. Any other comments or questions? Again, the mic is open.
So, John, coming back to my first question on the influx of AI tools, this is a very technical question, but since we have so many AI tools, how do we know which tool to be used? I know there's no perfect tool for our need, but is there any mechanism to identify that this tool will work for this particular content development? This tool will work for need analysis. This tool will work for developing videos, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think my example with the finding a daycare spot is very relevant here because you can use even AI to sort of like let you sort of hone in on the 3, 4, 5 best tools that are out there for each use case. And then as you go through them, you will again use your human intuitive capacity to feel into which is useful. And if that still doesn't feel clear, you can start small, do pilots with 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and then choose the best one. So I think it's really this collaboration of not having to use the human limited time and energy to sort of like think of all the best tools out there and distill them to 2, 3 options, but then also like allowing our human wisdom and critical thinking and intuition to come in to balance that. I would say that's the way I see this symbiosis happening.
Since it's the 1 more minute left, and I'll take this opportunity to ask you one more question. Sorry. Which books would you recommend to learn more about AI and upskill ourselves as a L&D professional?
What books I would recommend? I think this is very much dependent on where you're at. So I think, again, this is a great place where AI can be used to throw in a lot of information about you and sort of throw in what is it specifically that you want to develop. I would say that the movement of AI is going so fast that books are not catching up with what's changing. So I would point myself more to thought leaders, people that speak on the topics, people that write articles, that do talks about it, because they constantly tune into like more recent changes. Of course, there's the timeless books like the books by Ken Wilber, books by Yuval Noah Harari. Nexus actually is a recent book that is specifically on this topic, Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari, that does include more on the AI topic. But other than that, I would say it changes too fast and we need to tune into thought leaders, articles, podcasts to stay up to date. And indeed, joining the next AI Learn-tini sessions, because this is where fresh input is being offered. Okay, I think we're at time,
Thanks,
no,
thanks.
Valeria?
Yes, indeed, we are right on time. John, massive thank you for hosting our second AI Learn-tini session. I hope everyone got some food for thoughts, and stay tuned and check our next session, which are coming very soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.